Welcome, Husker fans. Thank you for tuning into Big Red Radio, the Husker Talk Show. I am your host, Caleb Jenneret. Next to me, as always, is my co-host, Zach Jenneret. We are going to preview this week's game against Northern Illinois. We're going to talk a little bit about last week and a little bit just of what news is happening within college football, more specifically with Nebraska. Remember to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Zach, we're going to shout out the Twitters and the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the TikTok as well before we get to you. But now we can get to you. Zach, how you doing today?
Good. I'd like to go ahead and say I do not apologize for any comments made in the previous video. I'd like to double down and go ahead and pull up some stats here for all you
we're about to get real personal
fans, because I personally do not care. Dear Colorado,
there's a lot of comments.
Your beloved Shiloh Sanders had 3 tackles. 3. Congrats. Okay. He's not a stud. He's not that good. Okay. Billy Kemp had 57 yards receiving on him. Okay. He's not that good. He also gave up multiple plays for big yardage in the run game, such as a 75-yard touchdown by our quarterback, in which he was probably supposed to not let anyone get past him. Isn't that what safeties are supposed to do? I'm pretty sure. Didn't happen. So, yeah.
Okay. So besides
you may have won, but I don't care. I honestly hope you guys never have another win. I freaking hate Colorado.
So besides everything Zach just said, I actually came into this episode not wanting to talk about Colorado at all. So if that's all you came for is to review last week's game for Colorado, I am sorry. But yeah, all the Colorado fans in the comments last video, I'm not upset about it. If Nebraska would have won, Nebraska fans would have been doing the same exact thing. So not worried about it at all. Everyone knows what happened in the game. You can't turn the ball over and over and over again. You just can't win that way. So that's why Nebraska lost. There were some other reasons. Colorado played well towards the end of the game, but yeah, you just can't turn the ball over like that. But getting into the news before we get into the main topics of the video, Jeff Sims has some sort of injury. We haven't really gotten any clarification on it from Matt Rule. I, for one, this is just personally, I don't know any facts or anything like that. This is being recorded on Wednesday evening. So if anything comes out after this, just know that we do not have all the information right now. But this is just my thought of the whole situation is I don't think he's going to play this Saturday. I think he has some sort of ankle sprain. It's not going to hold him out super long, is what Matt Rule says, but I just don't see the point in him playing this week. But yeah, do you have anything to say about that before we jump right in?
Yeah. Obviously, when you have a guy that's, as mobile as Jeff Sims and runs the ball and takes as many hits as him, not saying he's getting sacked or anything. There's just straight up designed runs in our offense for Jeff Sims, and he's a guy that's big enough to where he doesn't always slide, and that's, sometimes he'll do good for you. Other times, like right now, it's not going to be so hot.
This injury, I think, came on a sack, I believe. I think
right,
got him from behind and
right. But I mean, just saying, like, it could have also came when he, runs a QB ISO up the middle or a read option and anything like that. So, I mean, it's not something that I'm surprised has happened. But yeah, I definitely want him to get better. But I think that QB room is a lot better than people are giving it credit for.
Yeah, so that actually leads us into our next topic of discussion, which is, should Nebraska keep starting Jeff Sims? Obviously, after everything that happened last weekend with the interception, the fumbles, people are wondering, like, why didn't he get taken out of the game? Or should he be taken out of the game? I mean, we saw Anthony Grant fumble and Anthony Grant played, I think, 0 total offensive snaps on Saturday. So obviously he was getting, I don't want to say punished, but they just didn't trust him enough to put him out there. So why can Jeff Sims fumble it so many times, turn the ball over so many times against Minnesota, turn it over again against Colorado, and still be out there? I think it's a little bit different. I think the quarterback gets a little bit more leeway. I think you don't want to pull him super fast and then him lose his confidence and then things get worse. And it's like, should we really have done this? Another reason might be I don't know what Heinrich Haarburg looks like in practice or what Chuba Purdy looks like in practice. Chuba Purdy wasn't 100% apparently. Now he is, so maybe he looks a little bit different, but maybe Matt Rule and Satterfield and why can't I think of the receiver coach's name? McGuire.
Oh, yeah.
Um, don't know why I can't think of his first name. I know his dad's name, Joey McGuire, but yeah, they probably know something that we don't. Garrett McGuire,
Garrett
yeah.
McGuire.
Coach G. They probably know something we don't, and if they trust Jeff Sims, I trust them more than I trust myself. I don't think there's any sort of ego to it with you brought this guy in, so now you have to play him. I don't think it's anything like that. Matt Rule wants to win, I think, more than anything. So I don't think there's any situation like that going on. I think Heinrich Haarburg can be good. I just don't know. I mean, he's played what, 3 total snaps now, 2 at quarterback last week. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, so I have a couple things. One you may not like that I'm gonna say, but the first one is, if you listen to Matt Rule, he had a really good point, and that's that when a running back fumbles, right? So he didn't say this part, but when a running back fumbles, like it's running back's fault, like straight up,
Mm.
like they dropped the ball, they got stripped, they got, they didn't hang on to it, they didn't take good care of it. When there's a fumble at the quarterback position, there's a few things that could happen. When you're looking at like handoffs with the running back, maybe the running back was supposed to take that ball
Yeah.
and he let it go so it could go in the running back's hands. Maybe the center didn't, snap it very well. Maybe the center didn't snap it on time. Maybe, a receiver was in motion too early and he was looking over and then the center snapped it. And like, there's just so many things that go into it. Now, I don't want this to seem like I'm making excuses for Jeff Sims fumbles and saying they're not his fault and they're okay, because they very well could be. But I mean, there's a lot of things that I feel like we as fans don't see, that people that are getting paid millions of dollars to look at, right? They're being paid that much for a reason. It's because they're experienced and they can see it super well. And so Matt Rule said they asked him right after the game, like, do you even start Jeff Sims next week? And he said, before I make a decision on anyone starting next week, I need to go out and see, why those fumbles happened. I need to go back in the film and see that. He's like, I'm not gonna, pull a guy's starting position right now in a press conference because he, fumbled a couple times and threw a couple picks until I know why that happened. Now, sure, if we go to film and we see that Jeff Sims, dropped the ball here and there and they were his fault and bad reading this and that, yeah, maybe give the other guys a shot. But I don't think you can just jump right into it. And I've seen a lot of people being like, oh, I bet you're real happy you let Casey Thompson go now. Casey Thompson would have won these games. Let's go look at Casey Thompson when he played Ohio and went
Yeah.
23 for 42 for 180 yards and 2 picks.
Right. I don't want to bash Casey Thompson, but that's definitely like
No,
a thing that I saw.
but
a
it's
lot.
like you can't just be like, screw you, Matt Rule. Like, can't believe you let this guy go. He was, he would have led us to a ton of wins and whatever. Which is just not, it's not true at all. Obviously, you can look at Casey's first game when he played Monmouth, where he went 20 for 25 with almost 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. But I mean, you can't look at that, right? You
Right.
can't look at a FCS school. But when they're playing FAU and Ohio are probably fairly similar talent level teams. So 23 for 42, 180 yards and 2 picks. Like, listen, I think Jeff Sims is a good quarterback. Okay. I really do. I think he's got a ton of potential. But right now, he may have, some people call it the yips or, like mentally, I just don't think his confidence is where it needs to be. And that does hurt you quite a bit. I also think what a lot of people are not looking at is that Nebraska has gone on the road back to back weeks to open up against sold out crowds and good teams.
Hmm.
Like, we don't get to open up with Utah State and we don't get to open up with, Texas Southern or Middle Tennessee State or what I mean, like all these other big schools do. We come out here and we play a 8-9 win conference opponent week one, and then we play possibly the fastest, most up tempo team in college football.
Right. Yeah, and I mean,
Back to back weeks.
not making excuses for him because it definitely can't happen. I mean, you can't turn the ball over 4 times 2 weeks in a row.
Right. No,
Um,
absolutely not.
but it's not as cut and dry as just he sucks. Like, yes, he had turnover problems at Georgia
Right.
Tech, and yes, he's still having turnover problems now, but it's not just that easy because he makes some plays. I mean, he makes some plays that Casey Thompson can't make. Like, once again, I'm not trying to turn this into a Casey Thompson trash fest because I love Casey Thompson. I think Casey Thompson's great. Um, but like Casey Thompson's not taking a QB draw 60 yards to the house. Casey Thompson's not throwing a ball 60 yards down the field as well as Jeff Sims can. He's not going to fit it in a window like Jeff Sims can. Yes, Jeff Sims makes some mistakes and hopefully he can get those tuned up, but you got to remember we can't expect Nebraska and Matt Rule to do what Dion's doing. It just doesn't work like that. Like,
Right.
or it doesn't
Here's
always
my
work like that.
thought.
Obviously, it's working like that for Colorado, and great for them. Matt Rule just does it differently, and he said it himself. He's like, "This is what you signed up for when you signed me." He's like, "I want to win more than anything, but also he wants to do it the right way." And not saying I don't. He's not coming at Colorado saying they're doing it the wrong way. It's just different. He just does it differently.
So here's my thing. Again, not saying what Colorado is doing wrong. Obviously, it's working. They're 2-0, and they're probably a top 20 team right now. But I personally do not think that's sustainable because, like, the problem with like getting all those transfer guys is like there's no real culture build in doing that. I'm not saying there's no culture at Colorado, but in that method of just, it's a rinse and repeat method essentially, because as soon as someone's bad, they're gone and you bring a new one in. But when you do that over and over again, you can never sustain culture. And the thing is, like, I mean, let's be real. Colorado is not the stopping ground for Dion, right? I think we all know Dion is going to go somewhere else. Okay. Like, Colorado is not the end all be all for Dion. I give him a couple years there before, either the NFL picks him up or a bigger college picks him up out of there. But you go look at like places like Temple and Baylor, where Matt Rule was, look at like their 3 years after he left, how good they were. Temple continued to be a very good team 3, 4 years after Matt Rule had already left. Baylor still continues, which sure they were decent before, but 3 years, 4 years after he had left, they were still a good team. because what Matt Rule does is he takes the slow burning approach, but you build culture and you build value and you build legacy and you build respect in that rather than just this rinse and repeat method of just like all we care about is this year and then we just got to do it all over again next year kind of thing. Which I mean, obviously, one they both work. It's just one I feel like is more sustainable than the other. In that.
Sure, sure. And now getting to the next topic of discussion, who has yet to play that needs to get some playing time? I have an obvious one that kind of is different than I think the question is actually asking. Teddy Prohaska hasn't gotten any playing time this year. He's injured, so I don't think that's exactly what the question is that I was trying to ask, but just wanted to throw that out there that Teddy Prohaska needs to get some playing time. Turner Cochran, he looks improved, still not great. I mean, his pass blocking needs to get better. It just can't grade out that badly week to week. Run blocking for the whole O-line looks much improved, looks good even. I mean, you saw some of the holes opening up for Gabe Ervin this week. I think if Nebraska could have kept that game a little bit closer, could have ran that ball a little bit more, it would have been a much different game. But when you get down that much, you got to throw it a little bit, and that's what I think led to quick drives and giving them the ball back, whatever. But yeah, Teddy Prohaska definitely needs to get some more playing time. But my main one was Malachi Coleman needs to see some burn. I mean, he is one of the fastest guys on the team. What is he, 6'3", 6'4", maybe? I mean, he might not be – he's raw. He's definitely a raw talent. But just get him out there in some packages, see what happens. This weekend's a perfect example. I mean, get him out there, see what can happen. Definitely don't take the team lightly. We'll get into our predictions later. But can't take the team lightly, but you score a couple touchdowns, get Malachi in there. Put him in a couple packages, get him the ball in a jet sweep, get him the ball on a screen, send him deep even. I don't care. Just get him the ball and see what can happen. And if he has a good practice, I think we will see that. But who do you think should be getting some more burn out there?
So yeah, I was gonna say Malachi Coleman. Same reasons you did as well. But my other one is Tommy Hill.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Tommy Hill and this defense, which by the way, this defense is just it is elite, I think. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think if you're looking at the West, the Big Ten West, as far as defenses, you're looking at like I think Iowa is gonna reign at the top. Okay.
Yeah.
Iowa defensively is one of the best teams in the country. But I think us in Minnesota and Wisconsin are a tie for second. I mean, we've got 11
11
sacks now.
sacks.
That's huge.
Tied for the most in the nation, something like that. I know we're up there.
We technically have the most in the nation
I think
because
we're
of
tied.
sack yardage.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think Tommy Hill needs some time in there. He's a really, really good player.
He's athletic.
That I
He can play both ways.
very, very athletic. And I think he needs to see some time back there in the secondary.
Yeah, he got on the field a little bit against Colorado. Gave up a deep ball, I think. I think one of Travis Hunter's long balls was unfortunately on Tommy Hill. But, I mean, that's going to happen when you got a guy like Travis Hunter. I mean, Travis Hunter's electric. So it's just going to happen sometimes. But I think he's super athletic, definitely needs to get on the field in both ways. Kind of like what I said with Malachi. Just get him some packages, see what happens. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You give up a deep ball to one of the best deep ball receivers in the country, apparently. So not too bad there. But now we get to our segment. How many more games will Nebraska win? So I'm going to pull up the schedule right now. Obviously, this is a big topic of discussion because a lot of Nebraska fans, me included, thought we were going to be 2-0 at this point. So if we're going to get to a bowl game, I think some things need to change. But luckily, I think some games on the schedule look a lot easier than they did 2 weeks ago. For example, we'll get to it, but Michigan State. I mean, what's happening with Michigan State? I had been writing that off as a loss since I saw the schedule. since I started making these predictions. I've been writing Michigan State off as a loss. Is it a loss now? I don't know. But how many more wins do they get? So this is not a schedule prediction or anything like that. This is just saying how many wins. So I'm going to count the for sure wins in my opinion. Northern Illinois, Louisiana Tech, next 2 games. I think we win both those games. Northwestern, I think, is a for sure win. As of right now, without even seeing them play, I'm going to say Michigan State is a for sure win. I just think coaching-wise, it's going to be better. Illinois looks bad. Illinois looks really, really bad.
Illinois looked really bad against Kansas.
So, yes, I would say there's 5, in my opinion, games that we will be favored in. The next 2, Illinois, Northwestern, Michigan State. After that, I'd probably predict we go 1-2. As of right now, I'd predict we go 1-2 in the other 3 between Maryland, Wisconsin, and Iowa. I think.
What about Purdue? You forgot Purdue.
Oh, Purdue, 2-2. Okay, so I think we go 2-2 in those last 4 games. Not saying. I just don't know. Like Purdue, I could definitely see
Purdue's
Nebraska.
Not good,
Right? But you can't act like Nebraska is.
right?
Like Purdue.
But Purdue just got beat by
tough.
Fresno State and almost Virginia Tech.
Yeah. But Nebraska, I mean, we just don't know. There's a lot of unknown. Nebraska's 0-2. We'll see how Nebraska looks against Illinois, Northwestern, and Michigan. And I guess Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech. But we're really not going to know much unless we lose to one of those teams.
Hey, Louisiana Tech has Dakota Crawford.
He doesn't play. But yes, they do have Dakota Crawford. So I'm going to say Nebraska finishes. There's no way I'm saying 7 wins. There's just no way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to say 6. I think we go 1-3 in those last 3. As of right now, we are not beating Iowa. I think that's fair to say. As of right now, we are not beating Wisconsin.
That's fair. The Iowa one is. Have you seen? Here's my question: have you watched Iowa play?
I watched them against Iowa State. Their defense is legit.
Cade McNamara, really not that good. He was
Okay,
missing
Jeff
balls.
Sims. Let's not act like
okay.
Nebraska has this star at quarterback.
I understand
Potentially,
that.
if he puts it all together.
But we do have a run game. Iowa does not.
Yeah, but they also have a top 5 defense in the country.
Did last year too.
I'm going to say 6. What are you going to say?
I don't know.
I mean, it's because
I feel like I'm too
7
hopeful
for me. But sitting here 0-2 and me saying we're going to win 7 games seems outrageous to me. 6 wins seems doable. It does. 6 wins seem doable.
I think
7.
we beat Northern Illinois.
Yep.
We beat Louisiana Tech.
Yep.
We beat Illinois.
Okay.
I
could see us losing to Illinois. I could see us losing to Illinois. Illinois is not some gimme team.
I don't think Illinois is.
I mean, they're bad.
They're not some gimme team. They're bad.
But so is Nebraska.
I think it's a close one. I think it's a close one against Purdue, but I think the fact that it's at home will
We don't
help,
know how
and
this
I think
team plays at home. We know in theory this team should be better at home. But let's not get crazy and just assume.
Everyone loves being in Memorial. All right. Everyone loves being in Memorial.
Okay.
I think Michigan State's down.
Yeah.
Okay. Maryland is.
Who knows? I mean, they gave up a lot of points to Charlotte last week. So
Yeah.
who knows?
I mean, they've played like 2 gimme teams and they haven't really blown out either one.
Right.
I mean, they beat Towson 38-6, which is it's a big win, but I mean, you should be dropping like 40-50 on a team like Towson. And Charlotte should not be 38-20. You know what I mean? We'll see this week against Virginia how they really look, but
Virginia's not good either.
right. I don't think Now, Wisconsin, very legit team.
Are they?
The
I wouldn't
fact that
say they're
Wisconsin,
very legit. They lost to Washington State last week, which I like Washington
that's
State,
true,
but we'll see this week.
but
I think they play
Wisconsin's a good
Georgia
team.
Southern. I would not be surprised if Georgia Southern comes out and looks really good in that game.
Wisconsin's a good team. I do not think that Iowa is because okay. Here's my thought with Iowa. Right, you got a lot of things in this game. Since it's the last game of the year, Brian Ferentz is probably averaging like 22 points.
Maybe. I
Right,
mean,
because
as
maybe
of right
if
now,
that.
he's probably played his easiest defense he's going to play all year, and he's averaging what 20.
The reason Iowa defense doesn't play spectacular against Nebraska like they do the entire, you know, rest of the year is because at some point you get worn out of like carrying the team.
Sure.
I mean, we saw it Colorado, Nebraska. The defense was carrying the Nebraska team against Colorado. And
Yeah.
then towards the end of the first half, I mean, they started running tempo and you just can't. You get worn out, you get worn down, right? I think it's possible we beat Iowa. I think it's also possible we lose.
I think
But
it's possible. I don't think besides Michigan, I don't think there's a single team on the schedule that's like, yeah, we're going to lose. Like
right.
Wisconsin is close, but even then, like they lost to Washington State last week. Who knows what Washington State is? Is Colorado better than Washington State? Who knows? So there's just so many unknowns still until we get into conference play. But I think Nebraska gets 6 wins. Like that's where they finish.
Yeah, I think 7, but I think it goes high as 8.
I mean, yeah, Nebraska is gonna get. I think they're gonna get better throughout the year. The little mistakes are gonna get better and better and better throughout the year. If the defense holds up to the way it looks now, we're gonna. I think six is good. 5. I could also see 4 or 5 though. Like I would not be surprised if Nebraska finishes the year winning 4 games. I wouldn't be up. I would be obviously I'd be upset. It's 4 games, but I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, Matt Rule's done. Like I trust Matt
Yeah,
Rule.
there's a reason. There's a reason Matt Rule has an 8-year contract.
Right, right, and he wants to be here,
It's
so
gonna
I'm
take
not worried
some
about
time,
him
though.
going anywhere else. But now we're getting into our prediction of the week. Northern Illinois is coming to Lincoln on Saturday night game. Currently, DraftKings has Nebraska favored by 11 points, and the total line is 43. Obviously, this is a must-win game. You could not, under any circumstance, lose to a Group of 5 team that just lost to an FCS opponent at home, and you can't do it, especially at a night game in Memorial Stadium. I think this team, being Nebraska, is going to come out hungry for a win, going to be fueled with a sold-out crowd, night game. I can just imagine right now the tunnel walk up on the big screen, music's going, crowd's going crazy. As you can see in the background of Zach, it's going to be dark. Flashlights are going to be going like crazy. And I think Nebraska's going to score early, and I don't think they're going to stop scoring until they start getting to the last quarters of the game where they're just running the clock out because they're up by so much. I think Nebraska wins 34-10, Jeff Sims or not. Matt Rule says this is the best D-line, that this is as good of a D-line that they're going to face all year. I think Matt Rule is super respectful to every opponent he plays, so he's going to say those kinds of things. But I do kind of feel his words. I would not be surprised if Northern Illinois has a better D-line and O-line than Colorado. That's definitely where Colorado is at its weakest. But Northern Illinois just lost to an FCS opponent. We absolutely cannot lose this game. And I do not think Nebraska is going to come in and be like, we can just win this game. I think they're going to come out and say, we need to win this game. Like, we're going to do everything we can to lose this game. Matt Rule said it. He was actually saying this about Northern Illinois, saying there's nothing scarier than a team that has nothing to lose. But right now, Nebraska's sitting in a position where they have nothing to lose. They're 0-2. They're going to come into this game at home. They're going to be like, let's just go show them who the team we are. Let's just go show these guys the team that you are. And I'm sorry, UNI or NIU has to be the team that gets it because I kind of like NIU, always have. But I'm sorry that Northern Illinois has to be the team that comes out and gets it. But Nebraska coming out hungry. 34-10 is my final prediction. going to be on track to get another winnable game next week, and we're going to get to 1-2. So, me, I don't know if I'll be betting on this just because I don't like betting on Nebraska games in general. But if you take my prediction, obviously you're going to take Nebraska minus 11, and you're going to take the over by 1 point. So that's my prediction.
If you're taking my prediction, you'll hammer the over because it's actually pretty close to yours. But I think, just like you said, Nebraska will score a bunch and then kind of slow it down in the fourth quarter. But I do think they pound in a rushing touchdown in the fourth quarter. I think they do. I think they realize they're running the clock out, and then they're like, okay, we're kind of like on the 40, 35 going in. We might as well just punch one in. And I think the defense comes out, gets 6-7 sacks in this game, really lights it up. I think this is the game where the defense really just like plays a complete game, proves it, doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. And I think the final score is 42-17 in favor of Nebraska. I think you give up a couple touchdowns and a field goal to Northern Illinois. I think it happens. I think they're probably in the third quarter. If I had to guess, I think a couple touchdowns in the third quarter, probably a field goal in the first half. But yeah, I also have the rule where I don't bet on Nebraska games, but you would also take the Nebraska minus 11 and the over in mine as well.
Yes. So that is our prediction for next week. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Make sure you follow all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, all in the description. But without further ado, Zach, you got anything else?
Not now.
Tune in to our Bet the Mortgage episode, going to be out this Friday for all the picks in all of college football. We're getting back to that. We're going to try to do it every week. We didn't get to do it last week because we had a late video. But without further ado, go Big Red.